a little lesson for my non-livestock friends here. It's cold, I ain't gonna lie. The weather station in the house said it was wind chill of felt like -2 this morning. I believe it. It's pretty cool. So I come out to the barn, which is over there, and the horses were not in it, which didn't surprise me. They have access to this pasture. It's about 2.5 acres. They have access to the barn anytime. There's hay in the barn, there's water in the barn, there's good bedding in the barn. It's with the north wind. It's that wall of the barn right there is the north side. They can get in it out of the wind. So why are they in the pasture? Well, those are not horses that are clipped, meaning their coat's not clipped. They grow a natural thick coat all winter. Tonka down there, that Appaloosa, she is so thick you'd just about think she put on 200 pounds in the winter. That one right there, Ringer, that paint horse, his coat's not as thick as Tonka, but it's not as long haired as Tonka, but he's really thick. They put on a really good winter coat. That tree line right there is to the north of the pasture. The wind's out of the north. That is actually a really good wind break. This morning when I came out here with some hay bales on the four-wheeler, those horses were down in that hole and eating some hay I put out yesterday. Which again, they have hay in the barn, good hay on both ends. But I got down there with them and there was absolutely no wind down there, which that's why they were there. The sun was on them, the wind was not on them. That is like the best heat for them ever. Eating hay, which you can research more, but hay is their main staple of their diet. The process of digestion helps build heat internally. That's what keeps them warm. As long as horses have hay, they're usually going to be all right. I don't own any blankets. Some people put blankets on horses. I have some friends that have show horses, and I mentioned these weren't clipped. They keep their horses clipped and short-haired over the winter because they show, and that's they could get into more if they want to comment. They know who they are. And they put blankets on their horses, put them in their barn. It's not knocking it. That's a good thing for those horses. Some horses that don't have a good coat, you definitely want to put a blanket on. These horses are excellent. I mean, that mare over there, the little old guy that had her, he never put a coat on her. She came from down in Alto Pass. She has seen some really cold, frigid temperatures. And at 26 years old, she looks great and knows more about how to survive in the cold than I know how to help a horse in the cold. So there is that. Anyway, I came out this morning. I made 8 hay piles. You can see one there, and a couple others. Reason for that, horses naturally graze with their head down. It's good for them to eat that way. I read somewhere one time that it's actually good for their teeth eating down, and maybe I read that, maybe I thought that, but it's kind of an interesting thing. It definitely, they prefer this. They have hay in a feeder and a rack in the barn. I actually have a cradle type feeder that they just put their neck over and eat out of it, and they have hay in both of those. But what do? They prefer to eat it right out here. And I've even put that cradle feeder out here and put hay on the ground, and they will eat the hay off the ground before they eat it out of that feeder. Same hay. Kind of interesting, but just figured I'd share this because I know I'm going to see Facebook posts sometimes today that says if you're cold, they're cold, bring them inside. Well, you can't bring those horses inside. They have their barn they can go into, which again is ambient air. It's going to be cold, but it's out of the wind. But I can't take them in the house where I have heat. Now, if it got so cold that they were having problems, I do have a plan for that. If you look over in that fence line, there's several big brush piles. Of course, there's no fence over there. I took it out. I'm replacing that one. But I have seen some farmers in the past will have a big brush fire. When it gets really cold, they light it up. 2 reasons. Typically, they've done that when there's snow on the ground, so it's less likely to spread and cause a county-wide fire, which is good. The other reason, they've had cattle out there. They light that up and place hay around it. And if the cattle so desire, they can eat that hay. They can go up near the fire. They can go away from the fire. I mean, I think these animals are pretty smart. They're not going to hurt themselves most of the time. So I can't necessarily do that, even though that would be a good plan. Looks like I need to take that tree out. It's leaning pretty bad. And I was wanting to save it, but I think it's going to come out. However, if you see the smoke rolling out of the top of that stack in my garage, I do have a plan that involves, if it got so cold that these horses were having problems, I could always tie them into the trailer like I'm going to take them somewhere, back that trailer in the garage, open it up, and turn a fan blowing off of that furnace into there. So that, I've never had to do that. I've done it with the dog several times. In fact, the Brittany I used to have, I had him in the winter the last 3 winters he was alive. That was his winter home. He said some people go to Florida. He went to my shop, and it worked out really well for him. I don't know how many. I went through a lot of firewood just keeping that thing going all winter long. Not having that issue anymore. You know, I just kind of heat it up whenever I know I'm going to be out there. So that's why it's going today. Scarlett's actually going to go run on the treadmill in the garage. So that's why I have a fire going. It's because I love her. Try to make life easy. So anyway, before you start, you know, reading up these pictures that, you know, they're cold, bring them in. If you're cold, they're cold, bring them inside. Well, those horses are naturals at this kind of stuff. And I'm not going to walk out there to them. I've already bothered them enough today, and I don't feel like dealing with that electric fence or going through a gate. So, but if you went out there, I could literally bury my hand in their hide. Their hair's fluffed out. Their hair's really thick. It's, you know, got good length. They got good winter coat. They're doing just fine. And right now my hand is about to freeze holding this phone. But if you went down there where those horses are, you're not going to find any wind. If you look, I don't know if you can see that little piece of grass moving in the wind, but if you look down there, I don't know how good this is, but there is some taller grass standing up, and it's not even swaying halfway to that horse. I mean, those are out of the wind. That's why I put most of their hay piles down there. I put some up here just because they'll have to go from here to get water, and they'll pick around. I mean, give them options, they're going to do the best thing for themselves. But most of the hay piles are down out of the wind. These are up here. They'll pick on them, they'll eat at them. And again, they have hay in the barn. They can go in the barn if they want, but they don't want to. They're not being stupid. They're just doing what's best for them.